Hello, what's up, Ohana business analyses and consultants? Anyone who's going to be part of a discovery session with a Salesforce client, this video is for you. I recently finished a project with what would normally be classified as a difficult client, and I wanted to share some tips on how to navigate conversations with these types of clients. In this video, we'll talk about some behaviors that you might come up against, and I'll give you some insights as to the motivation behind these behaviors and give you my top 3 tips for how to build a trusting relationship with them so that you're not on edge when interviewing and they get the solution that they desire, because that is our job. So, as always, if you haven't already connected with me on LinkedIn, please do, and make sure that you subscribe so that you are notified when new trainings are released. So, first off, what are some typical qualities of a difficult client? Starting with nitpicking. You've interviewed them, you understand the outcomes that they're hoping for. They want to be able to, at the click of a button, download a report of quarterly sales in comparison to quotas, let's say. So you build up the flow that captures and calculates all the data. That's the solution that you think of. You even spend time creating the perfect formula fields. You're so proud of what you've created, and there's this like auto number calculating closed won sales, yada, 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 right? The client zooms in on what does not work. They don't even acknowledge all of the awesome stuff that does meet their requirements, but they just say, why isn't it calculated by quarter? I don't want to calculate it by month. Why did you do it that way, right? Nitpicking. So what might motivate this client to zoom in so hard on what's not working? It's because they are thinking about how their team operates, which is by quarterly quotas and not monthly. The client is nitpicking because they care and they want to make their team job easier. Another potential reason is that they have the strength of attention to detail. In this case, it can be a bit of annoyance, but chances are they've got to the place that they are in the company because this attention to detail produces thorough work, right? So we can respect that, we can acknowledge that, and we can also say, in our own heads that it's going to be okay if they nitpick a little bit because that's just part of their personality. We don't have to worry about it. It's just something that they're going to do, right? So understanding their motivations can help because once you understand potential motivations, you can know how to prepare for meetings, which I'll talk about in a second, right? All right, second behavior that they might exhibit is being very direct and maybe demanding and to the point. If you've ever talked with a client that seems abrasive, you know how this can affect your mindset going into the session. What might they attack today? They're always telling me what's wrong. It seems like they're just pissed off the time, right? Obviously, going into a meeting like this where you're prepared for battle does not create a safe space to explore the needs, ask insightful questions, and get answers that reveal the root of the problem. What might motivate the client to be demanding? Again, they care. There's a high likelihood that this project feels like a brainchild to them. Protective, like parent clause might come out, and that's completely understandable. They want their teams and systems to be handled with care, and they want a quick, direct, and to the point solution. They don't want to waste their time. They're busy. This is the second point. They have jobs to do. They don't want to waste any time away from their work that they don't have to. Clients need care. The support team has all sorts of escalations, and there are revenue streams that need building out, right? This means that it is your job as the business analyst to prepare ahead of time what the client needs, depending on the phase that you're in, the most simple and concise deliverable. Okay, behavior number 3 that you'll notice is difficulty managing expectations and changing their mind all the time. The customer requirement was to have the ability to track contracts with late payments and send a notification to the late payment person when that happens. In the discovery session, you discover that the reason behind this is because finance is having to do that manually by checking in a queue, and obviously we can automate that. So you present a simple process to illustrate a solution, and they come back with, yeah, but I also need the notification sent when the payment is made and notifying clients of upcoming payments, but they didn't mention that in the define phase. They keep adding on requirements that are not quite in scope. right? What might contribute to this behavior? First and foremost, it's not being thorough enough in the discovery session and defining the scope. You have to set the scope of the project beforehand so you can manage expectations. Proper documentation is key here so that when a client comes in and says, actually, I also need alerts. And when a rep is behind on their goals for more than 5 sales, you can say, okay, I hear you, but you signed off on this document and that wasn't in the process. So, and you can only say that with backing if you have thoroughly discovered the needs and gotten the client sign off before proceeding to the deployment stages. If they don't sign off, yes, I agree to all of it. If these acceptance criteria are met, the project is successful. If they don't say that, then you have no backbone. So you have to do all of that ahead of time. So in summary, nitpicking occurs probably because the person has a great attention to detail, which is a strength that you can amplify and encourage. That's going to build rapport. They do it because they care and they're keeping their team involved and at the forefront of their mind. They're asking questions surrounding ease of adoption and whether or not your proposal will actually solve the problem, because that's what they want. Your job is to solve their problem, and their problem can vary, obviously, but they want to make sure that their users are going to be able to adopt that. Directness, demanding, or seemingly abrasive communication occurs because people are busy. They have jobs. They might be stressed about helping out their team. They don't want to waste time. And the third behavior is, focusing on expectations or them changing expectations as the person in charge of listening to understand. Like, that's your job, right? Is that you want to listen to understand instead of listening to solution as quickly as possible, right? If you don't adequately explore the root motivations of the humans involved in the problem and or purpose of scope of the project clearly outlined in writing, then the client is going to keep adding things on. So now my top 3 tips to handle these behavior for a smoother, maybe fun time with a difficult client. So the first thing that I'll say is to be very, very aware of how you talk about your client. I get it. Some of these behaviors can be difficult to deal with, but there's nothing useful about complaining or viewing them as someone who's against you, because you're actually in the same team. You both want the business to grow and expand in the most seamless way possible. So start with that, right? Ask yourself, what's the shared vision here? How can I lead with that in our meetings? How can I show that I'm also committed if the way I work on this project, right? So watch out for complaining. Ask for help if you need to know more about presentation styles or templates or best practices, right? Do your research. Ask the Ohana, hey, these are some of the things that are happening with my client. Has this ever happened with you? How did you handle it? You wouldn't believe how useful it is to have solution-focused, not problem-focused conversations. And I don't mean like tech solutioning. I mean, there's a problem, what's the solution, right? And if you're needing more practice in a particular area, sign up for a webinar or a training. Clicked experiences are great as they provide hands-on experience, Trailhead, and LinkedIn always has webinars and stuff going on. The third thing is write out exactly what you want to say. Go by the script and write it out in your mind first. So yes, I love PowerPoints and diagrams and templates, and doing a big brain dump can be really a useful tool to begin organizing your thoughts. Once you get everything out on paper about the client, how you can help them, what their problems are, what their solutions are, what are your thoughts about them, you can organize them and do like a little mind map, right? Mind mapping, just look it up on Google. It's absolutely the most fantastic tool for organizing your thoughts. Right? Then ask yourself, once you do that and organize it, what format would be most useful for the presentation? What would my client benefit from? What is the most useful use? What is the most effective use of our time, right? User stories, for example, might lend itself to a simple spreadsheet. Business processes might need flowcharts, right? And it's much better to have your thoughts organized and decide on the format instead of just going in and figuring out, yeah, you know what, I probably should have used something else. You might use Jira to illustrate timelines or backlogs, etc. But first, I find it helpful to just get it all out so that when you present, you've had a chance to reflect on how your presentation is going to quickly get to the point. And this shows thoughtfulness and care, building rapport. So in summary, don't complain. How you talk about your clients and how you feel about them, like it's kind of like body odor. Your client can sense it. You can smell when someone isn't taking care of their opinion about you. Ask for help to get some perspective. Ask people who are solutions focused. Hey, I'm noticing this pattern with a client. It's really difficult. How would you deal with this? What have you found? Dear Ohana, what has been useful here? And third, in preparation for client meetings, do a brain dump, make an outline, do a mind map, and then put it on a platform, format it based on the phase of the project that you're in. All right, friends, I hope that you found this helpful, and make sure that you check out some of my other trainings to learn more about how to be the best business analyst that a client has ever had.